Question of the day is, how in the world do you tell her that you love her? So gets around this time of year where us guys are expected to take the one that we love and to express to them in some romantic and great way about how much that we care for them, and how much that they mean to us. And I have just come to the conclusion that this day, that they set aside for love is a great day. Although I'm just not very good at it. It's just not a specialty for me. So I've told you, and maybe you haven't been here before, but I've told you the story about going and trying to find Valentine presents for my wife before. I've told you the story, that I was going to be really romantic one year and drove all the way up to Oklahoma City to a athletic sports sale and, bought tennis shoes for her and influenced John to do the same. And he bought some tennis shoes for his wife, and then they ended up being two different sizes when he presented them to her in love that day. Once again, I think it was a great practical gift. I don't understand why that wouldn't be romantic. You can, anyway, there's a lot of areas you can go to. So here's my thought process, and I know that it's probably wrong, but, it's just a desperate day. And so it is the night before the day of, and like every other man, I am walking through department stores aimlessly looking for things that I think will be meaningful to my wife. And it's funny to watch. If you've not been out on that night, you should go. Because there's all of us, all of us guys, we're just walking, like this, and we're just like, what could there be in this store, And so I walk into Dillard's, and I'm thinking to myself, shoes again. I know, I'm thinking, no, don't do it. But then I'm thinking, no, I think if I bought her a pair of those Uggs, those boots with a little fuzzy little squirrel-looking things coming out of them, And I thought that would be a really nice gift. Those are nice, much better than the tennis shoes that I had bought her several years ago. And so I go to Dillard's, and I'm looking around, and luckily they had Uggs. I didn't know where to even buy them. I thought, there might be like specialty stores or something. And so I got lucky at the first store I go to. So I'm walking through the ladies' shoe department, which now I'm feeling just a little creepy. Not as creepy as when I walked through the lingerie section, but I'm still feeling a little creepy. So I'm looking at these boots, and I'm like, I don't know about this, because I don't know what size she wears. I don't know if she's like a 6 or a 6.5. I mean, as she ages, is her foot, spreading out? What? I just don't know. And so, anyway, I'm looking at these boots, and they didn't have any that I liked. None of, because most of them didn't have the little furry, fuzzy stuff that coming out of the top, and I'm thinking that's the popular kind. I don't know. So then there was a pair of toe boots there, like leather boots that came way high, And I'd seen a lot of people wearing those, and they're Uggs. But then they had these rubber soles on them, and I'm looking at them, and I walk off, and I come back, and I'm looking at them, and I walk back, and I pick it up, and I look, at the price, and then I put them back down real quick, and I just think our love should not be valued by monetary things, So I leave. I'm thinking shoes are just not it. So I go to the jewelry counter. This is worse than shoes. Because here's how it works. There are guys located all the way around the jewelry counter. Nobody's looking at each other eye to eye because everybody in the place is like, looking at jewelry and thinking, man, that's expensive stuff, And then they're like, well, if I get something cheap, then it's not going to show my love. And so everybody's just circling the counter like clockwise, they just continue to walk around the counter. And for some reason, because it's the night before, I'm just a little embarrassed that I've waited so long. And so, lo and behold, here comes somebody from the church while I'm looking at the jewelry counter. what are you up to, and, nothing, just here shopping, and try to change the conversation, because I sure don't want him saying, hey, have you bought your wife anything yet? And I'm saying, no, I'm here last minute, and real thoughtful like that. And so I have that whole conversation, and so I'm thinking jewelry is not the way to go at all. And so I leave the mall completely, and now I'm just aimlessly roaming the streets. Because I've checked out the mall with everything that it has, and I just can't find anything that is, going to share my love like I want it to with my wife on this special day. And so I am driving around, and so I turn into Sam's Wholesale Club. And I'm thinking, this is a mistake too. Surely this is a mistake. Nothing says love like Sam's. So I go to the jewelry counter at Sam's, and now I'm just thinking, man, I just feel cheap. When she asked me, where did I get this jewelry from? And I say, Sam's. She's like, well, did you get a discount on it? Did you use your club card? And, it's just not, whatever, Then I looked at the price at the jewelry at Sam's. And she would appreciate the jewelry there. That stuff's expensive, One of the ladies are like, would you like to buy your wife this ring? I've got this perfect ring. And I was like, okay. And she slides it over. It's $4,000, And I'm just thinking, not today. Maybe next year, So then another person that I know very well ends up walking past the counter again. Once again, I'm embarrassed for some odd reason. I don't know why. So I talk to him for a few minutes, and then I start to walk off like I'm just shopping again. And here's what I decided on. And once again, every year I talk about what I get my wife for Valentine's Day and share it with you, I'm sure. But last year I think I got a comforter set. You didn't we? That's what I got you. And, it worked out. It's nice. It's probably still in the bed. It's probably the same one. So this year I want to do something a little bit different. So as I'm walking through Sam's, I look over and I think practical with me now. This nothing says love like this. So I look over and I just remember, my wife is on social media all the time. Right? Facebook, she tweets, she's in. And so I'm thinking, she does that on her little phone all the time. She just, and I love her so much, I don't want her eyesight going bad. I don't want anything to happen, to her. And so I decide right there, next to the jewelry counter at Sam's, are tablets, So I'm going over and I'm looking through and checking out the tablets and whatever. And I decide on the one that shows my love the most. And I thought, I'm going to go overboard here. I'm not going to just stop with the tablet. I'm going to the dollar store, and I'm going to pick me up a red bag, and I'm going to pick up the pink tissue paper stuff, that you put in it. And I didn't use just half. I used the whole thing. I wrapped it. It was all puffy and coming out. And then I went to the section, and I bought a card, the most romantic card that I could find. And at the end of that card, it pretty much had said everything that I needed to say. So I just put love Chad right there and then put her name on it. And hey, I'm telling you, it worked out to be just one of the best Valentine's Day. Nothing says love like a tablet. And so I hope you did as good as I did when you were walking around aimlessly trying to find something special for your wife. That I found it. It was special to us, and she's been enjoying it. She has picked it up and hadn't put it down. I hadn't talked to her since, and she loves it very much. And so nothing tells her love like that. Some people express love in a different way and tell the people they love how they love them in different ways too. Let's watch a video together real quick.
I messed up. So I told her, you got a mirror, you can see what you look like in those jeans. So, anyway, I don't know what to do.
You just talk to her.
And tell her what?
You tell her how you feel.
I did. I told her, I feel like you look like your mother.
Okay, no, you need to use your words. You know, romantic words.
Oh. Wait, what?
Okay, honey, you take your wife by her hands and you just pour into her.
Wait. Am I holding her hands or am I pouring something? I can't do both.
What? No. Todd, you are going to pour words into your wife. You look her in the eyes, dead set, and you just let go. Because that's what she does to you, Todd. She makes you let go. And you say to her, you mean everything to me. And I would let go of everything if it means that I just get to hold you for the rest of my life. And that's what you do. What are you doing?
I'm calling my wife, and you are going to tell me some pretty words to say to her.
We are not doing this.
Hey, babe. No, don't hang up. Don't hang up. I was an idiot, and I know you said some things too. You shouldn't have.
You don't say that.
That's not what I meant. I meant I have some things to say to you right now.
No.
While we're on the phone.
Stop it.
Just listen. She said I have 2 minutes. What do I say? What do I say?
I'm sorry. For what? No, you tell her that.
I'm sorry. Babe? She's still there. I can hear her breathing.
Tell her I love you and you mean everything to me, and I am a fool because I don't tell you that more often.
I'm a fool for loving you, and I should say that stuff more often.
You were the only reason I am half the man I am. Your love and constant support is my daily breath.
I'm half the man I am because of you, and your love is a constraint.
Constant support.
No, no, your love is constantly on my breath, daily.
You are the greatest blessing God has ever given me, and you are perfect for me.
Babe, you're the best thing God ever did for me. You're perfect. For me, you're perfect. You're not perfect.
What are you doing? Just tell me what to say. Sunsets are more beautiful when you are on the horizon.
You're more beautiful at sunset on the horizon. It totally worked. Babe, I'm gone in 60 seconds.
What a moron.
You were great.
I know, right?
The words you said, I heard. I had no idea.
Seriously? You had no idea that some women fall for that stuff? I'm just glad you're not that gullible. By the way, what's for dinner? I've messed up.
Use your words, my friend.
Use those words.
I think sometimes more than just being able to tell, we have to show that, you know. And so there is a story in the Bible where a young man goes and he is really searching for love. And it's found in Genesis chapter 29, where he comes upon this field and he asks these men that are there for a certain family, and if there's if this family is around, and they say, yeah, that they live in this area. And he says, matter of fact, that man's daughter is coming up the road even now. Her name's Rachel. And it's really the first time that he has seen her, and he is obviously just smitten by her, and sees this woman coming up the road and is like, that's Rachel right there, and that's her. And so there they go, and she's a shepherdess, and she's tending to her father's sheep and fixing to water those sheep, and he rolls back the rock to the well, and while they're sitting there and the sheep are drinking and there's conversation, somehow that relationship leads to a kiss, and he is just falling in love with this girl. Now, he goes back home with her and meets her father, which I think all good boys should do, before they want to date somebody's daughter, and ask, Okay, I'll quit meddling. I'll go too far there. I'm just playing. But he does. He talks about Rachel and tells him that he loves this daughter of his. And they make an arrangement where he is going to work for a long period of time, 7 years, and that he, at the end of that time, will be able to receive Rachel as his own. And we know that story pretty well because he works in the field. He does everything that he needs to do. He fulfills that time for this man. And then after that time is over, he tricks him. And he gives this oldest daughter, the oldest daughter, which I don't know what she looked like. I don't know if she was friendly. I don't know what she was necessarily. But I do know it's not the one that he was in love with. And so he takes this woman and asks the father, why have you done this after 7 years of work and pouring everything out into your family, and then you trick me and you give me the woman that I didn't desire. I really, really wanted Rachel. She's the one that I'm in love with. And he said, in our customs, we don't marry off the second one until the first one is gone. And so you get the first one. But I'll make you a deal. If you want to stick around for a few more years, if you want to put a little bit more effort into this, then Rachel could be yours as well. And so here's the point in which, he has to make a really big decision. He's already tricked him once. He's now received this woman that he didn't choose. Is he to go the extra mile? Does he go to the extra effort? Does he stay there and work for a total of 14 years so that he has the opportunity, maybe, that Rachel could be the very one that he has? And his decision that day was to work. He loved her enough that he didn't just tell her by a rock that he had rolled away from a well. He didn't just tell her by the first 7 years that he worked and wanted to be with her, but even in greater lengths than that, when everything didn't work out the way it was supposed to, he continued on that same path until he was able to show her that he would go to great lengths and do anything as long as they could be together. And so when you look at that story, you're thinking, well, he loved her quite a bit at the rock because she was beautiful. I mean, drop dead gorgeous. He fell in love with the way she looked. And then, he wanted to be with her, so he was willing to work for the first 7 years. And that was just because probably he just longed to be with her, and it was a long time, but it was probably going to be worth it. 7 years we can get this done. But to go 14 and go the extra mile, He was saying, anything I have to do to show you that I love you and that I want you for my very own, I'm willing to do that. And so the question today is really, how far are you willing to go to show your love? How far? It was so uncomfortable walking around those sneaking jewelry counters. It's just not me. It's just for whatever reason. It's not that I don't love my wife, obviously. It's just that it's just awkward for me, And I'm willing to go to the first store and the second store and whatever to make sure that I get that done and to be able to show her that I'm willing to make some effort, even though I'm not good at it, just to make it known that that relationship is special. And it is worth it, through it all. And I just wonder today how far we're willing to go. Are we willing to go to the Rock, where it's pretty comfortable, it's a place that is full of beauty and pretty exciting, Are you willing to go the first 7 years? Because the first 7, although they can be hard and it can be rocky at times, you're willing, right? But then to extend that out over a long period and to go through whatever you have to go through to make sure that your relationship that you're in works, to show them no matter what, I think it just starts to show those people around you a true commitment. I'm willing to do anything for you. I'm willing to go to great depths, to great heights, to make sure that you know that I'm in love with you. Statistics say that we don't make it very often. Statistics say that, unfortunately, people are not compatible for each other and that, life happens. And that's unfortunate because that's a very, very difficult and hard situation to go through. And I know it is. I've watched people as they've struggled during those times. And I would hate for anybody to go through something like that. But I truly believe that for you, that's not the end, that you still have opportunities to be able to move forward in relationships. You still have opportunities today that God will present to you, that you too can find love in your life that's one that's more than just the beautiful and more than just waiting for a while, but that's long-lasting. So today in this service, as we talk about relationships and love and those type of things, and you, for the first few minutes, you think, oh no, another one of those, and you feel just a little bit uncomfortable in yourself, because you're sitting in the room. Today's your day too. Because God loves you enough that He's willing to go to great lengths for you. Not only how much do you love the person that's around you, your spouse, the one that you're dating, those people, your family, but how far are you willing to go with God as well? That's even a better question, I think, today. There are times when we serve God that are wonderful. You get saved and it's like really exciting and everything's new and you've turned your life around and things are on the right track. And then it starts to get hard after a while because sometimes people that are presenting the gospel, they just tell the good side, of things because they want to entice you to love God, and that's a good thing. That's not a bad thing, but we don't talk about what happens after you accept God into your heart. For the most part, it's always exciting and all those things, but then an enemy, because of what you've done, there's an enemy of this world that desires for you not to serve God, and when you begin to do that, sometimes it gets pretty difficult. Sometimes it gets really, really hard. the idea is if it can get so hard that you decide that it was easier without God, then the enemy is won, you don't serve God, and you are stagnant and stale in your relationship, and the love factor is not one at all, and therefore you're in the exact place that the enemy desires for you to be. So it gets hard. It is not easy to live life. But if you can, and you can stick with it, and you can stick beside God, and you can tell Him that you love Him, and that you care about Him, and that you desire to see Him, no matter what happens, that relationship can grow. Now, let's stop, because there are times where when we have this relationship with God, and then we have to come to this point because of circumstances, whether or not we're going to continue to serve Him. Was it God's will for that person to get sick and leave us? I'm mad at God because that person left. Was it God's will for us not to be together anymore, and for our relationship not to work, and now I'm alone? Because that's a mess. And why in the world would God put me in this place? Is it God's will for me to always be like this? Lonely? By myself? Why would He want this for me? And you come to this place where it gets so very, very hard, and you have to decide for your very own whether or not you're going to say, I'm going to go through whatever it takes, the hard part of life, to get to a point where I can receive what I want, and that's the true love of God, where I can feel where I don't have to worry anymore, I don't have to try to fight as much anymore, to mature to the place spiritually where I know beyond a shadow of a doubt that He will never leave me and that He will never forsake me, because He loves me just the way that I am. All the imperfections and everything. He loves me just like I am. He made me that way. We can tell Him we love Him. I love you. You're an amazing God. You're an amazing God. But then there's a point in our life where our actions have to meet our words. And we have to prove it. I can tell my wife all day long that I love her and that I appreciate her and that I care for her and that she means so much to me. And then if I don't show that with my actions, then the relationship that we have one to another gets to a point where it's just going through the motions. You know? Just going through the motions. So, I want to ask you, are you just a talker today? You just say, you know, I'm serving God, I love God, you know, and that's enough? Are you one of those that have just made a point to say, I'm going to get through anything and everything that I can? God, it is not God's will for you to suffer. It is not God's will for you to hurt. It is not God's will for your life to be a mess. It is not God's will that people would perish and die. He wants you to have everlasting life. He's a God that shows tremendous compassion, and He's a God that will do anything and go to great lengths, even to the point where He sacrifices the thing that He loves the most so that you have an opportunity to love Him again. I don't know what else He can do for us. I don't know what other provisions He can make for us. And so I just want to end this service like this today. As uncomfortable as it might be for you, as it was for me, to walk around the counters and be a little embarrassed that I waited to the last minute with a bunch of other guys about getting my wife something for that day. You might have that same feeling today in church when I say that I want you to just express to God today how much that you love Him. You might say, oh man, I don't know about this one. He's waiting for you to do that. He wants nothing more than just you today to tell Him that you love Him and that you care about it. I don't know what you've been through or what you have gone through in your life. I don't know how hard it's been. For 1 second, I would not act like that I would even know the pain maybe that you've been through. But I do know this. If you can just stop for a moment and you can tell Him that you love Him and show Him with your life, that it gets easier along the way. It does. He watches over you. He protects you. He'll guide you. He'll lead you. He'll send His Holy Spirit to live within inside of your life so that He can help you along the way. So this morning, we're just going to spend a few minutes, the next just few minutes, just telling Him individually, I love you more than anything. You can do it where you sit if you want to. If you need to, you can kneel down at a chair and pray. We'll use this front area as an altar because you might want to stand up and you might want to walk down and you might want to present that to this whole congregation this morning to tell God, I'm not ashamed of you. I'm going to worship you. I'm going to praise you. I'm going to do this because I love you. It's just a statement that you need to make. Not that we need to see necessarily, that you need to make in your life. That this is where I'm going. This is where I'm headed. This is what I am. To hold you accountable in your relationship.